Internet is an integral part of business and personal life. And what happens online in 60 seconds? Ethical hackers are motivated by different reasons, but their purpose is usually the same as that of crackers. They are trying to determine what an intruder can see on a targeted network or system and what the hackers can do with that information. This process of testing the security of a system or network is known as penetration test or pen test. Hackers break into computer systems, contrary to widespread myth. Doing this doesn't usually involve a mysterious leap of a hacker's brilliance, but rather persistence and the dogged repetition of a handful of fairly well known tricks to exploit common weaknesses in the security of targeted systems. A pen test is no more than just performing those same steps with the same tools used by malicious hackers to see what data could be exposed using hacking tools and techniques. Many ethical hackers detect malicious hacker activity as part of the security team of an organization tasked with defending against malicious hacking activity. When hired, an ethical hacker asks the organization what is to be protected, from whom, and what resources the company is willing to expend in order to gain protection. A penetration test plan can then be built around the data that needs to be protected. Documenting the results of various tests is critical in producing the end product of the pen test. The pen test report. Taking screenshots of potentially valuable information or saving log files is critical to presenting the findings to a client in a pen test report. The pen test report is a compilation of all the potential risks in a computer or a system. More detail about the contents of the pen test report will be covered in the last chapter of this book. Goals attackers try to achieve. Whether perpetuated by an ethical hacker or malicious hacker, all attacks are an attempt to breach computer system security. Security consists of four basic elements: confidentiality, authenticity, integrity, and availability. A hacker's goal is to exploit vulnerabilities in a system or network to find a weakness in one or more of the four elements of security. For example, in performing a denial of service or DOS attack, a hacker attacks the availability elements of systems and networks. Although a DOS attack can take many forms, the main purpose is to use up system resources or bandwidth. A flood of incoming messages to the target system essentially forces it to shut down, thereby denying service to legitimate users of the system. Although the media focuses on the target of DOS attacks, in reality such attacks have many victims, the final target and the systems the intruder controls. Information theft, such as stealing passwords or other data as it travels in clear text across trusted networks, is a confidentiality attack because it allows someone other than the intended recipient to gain access to the data. This theft isn't limited to data on network servers. Laptops, disks, and backup tapes are all at risk. These company-owned devices are loaded with confidential information and can give a hacker information about the security measures in place at an organization. Bit flipping attacks are considered integrity attacks because the data may have been tampered with, in transit, or at rest on computer systems. Therefore, system administrators are unable to verify the data is as the sender intended it. A bit flipping attack is an attack on a cryptographic cipher. The attacker changes the cipher text in such a way as to result in a predictable change of the plain text. Although the attacker doesn't learn the plain text itself, this type of attack isn't directed against the cipher but against a message or series of messages. In the extreme, this can become a DOS attack against all messages on a particular channel using that cipher. The attack is especially dangerous when the attacker knows the format of the message. When a bit flipping attack is applied to digital signatures, the attacker may be able to change a promissory note stating "I owe you $10" into one stating I owe you $10,000. MAC address spoofing is an authentication attack because it allows an unauthorized device to connect to the network when media access control filtering is in place, such as on a wireless network. By spoofing the MAC address of a legitimate wireless station, an intruder can take on the station's identity and use that network. An ethical hacker's skill set. Ethical hackers who stay a step ahead of malicious attackers and hackers must be computer system experts who are very knowledgeable about computer programming, networking, and operating systems. In-depth knowledge about highly targeted platforms such as Windows, Unix, and Linux is also a requirement. Patience, persistence, and immense perseverance are important qualities for ethical hackers because of the length of time and level of concentration required for most attacks to pay off. Networking, web programming, and database skills are all useful in performing ethical hacking and vulnerability testing. Most ethical hackers are well rounded with wide knowledge on computers and networking. In some cases, an ethical hacker will act as part of a tiger team who has been hired to test network and computer systems and find vulnerabilities. In this case, each member of the team will have distinct specialities, and the ethical hacker may need more specialized skills in one area of computer systems and networking. Most ethical hackers are knowledgeable about security areas and related issues but don't necessarily have a strong command of the countermeasures that can prevent attacks. Ethical hacker terminology. Being able to understand and define terminology is an important part of CEH's responsibility. This terminology is how security professionals acting as ethical hackers communicate. This language of hacking is necessary as a foundation to the follow-on concepts in later chapters of this book. In this section, we'll discuss a number of terms you need to be familiar with for the CEH certification exam. Threat. An environment or situation that could lead to a potential breach of security. Ethical hackers look for and prioritize threats when performing a security analysis. Malicious hackers and their use of software and hacking techniques are themselves threats to an organization's information security. Exploit. A piece of software or technology that takes advantage of a bug, glitch, or vulnerability, leading to unauthorized access, privilege escalation, or denial of service on a computer system. Malicious hackers are looking for exploits in computer systems to open door to an initial attack. Most exploits are small strings of computer code that, when executed on a system, expose vulnerability. Experienced hackers create their own exploits, but it is not necessary to have any programming skills to be an ethical hacker, as many hacking software programs have ready-made exploits that can be launched against a computer system or a network. An exploit is a defined way to breach the security of an IT system through a vulnerability. Vulnerability. The existence of a software flaw, logic design, or implementation error that can lead to an unexpected and undesirable event executing bad or damaging instructions to the system. Exploit code is written to target a vulnerability and cause a fault in the system in order to retrieve valuable data. Target of evaluation, or TOE, a system, program, or network that is the subject of a security analysis or attack. Ethical hackers are usually concerned with high-value TOEs, systems that contain sensitive information such as account numbers, passwords, social security numbers, or other confidential data. It is the goal of the ethical hacker to test hacking tools against the high-value TOEs to determine the vulnerabilities and patch them to protect against exploits and exposure of sensitive data. Attack. An attack occurs when a system is compromised based on a vulnerability. Many attacks are perpetuated via an exploit. Ethical hackers use tools to find systems that may be vulnerable to an exploit because of the operating system, network configuration, or applications installed on the system and to prevent an attack. There are two primary methods of delivering exploits to computer systems. Remote. The exploit is sent over a network and exploits security vulnerabilities without any prior access to the vulnerable system. Hacking attacks against corporate computer systems or network initiated from the outside world are considered remote. Most people think of this type of attack when they hear the term hacker, but in reality, most attacks are in the next category. Local. The exploit is delivered directly to the computer system or network, which requires prior access to the vulnerable system to increase privileges. Information security policies should be created in such a way that only those who need access to information should be allowed access, and they should have the lowest level of access to perform their job function. These concepts are commonly referred to as need to know and least privileged, and when used properly, would prevent local exploits. Most hacking attempts occur from within an organization and are perpetuated by employees, contractors, or other interested positions. In order for an insider to launch an attack, they must have higher privileges than necessary based on the concept of need to know. This can be accomplished by privilege escalation or weak security safeguards.